You coming to get us? Ha 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 ha. Good morning. Really?
We're under 8 hours of daylight.
Under 8 hours of daylight?
Yep. Looks like next week we're gonna get down low of 12, high of 20.
That should freeze that ice up better.
Yeah. Pretty
good.
much like that for a couple days.
Mama.
We got some snow on the radar.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
They're not calling for much, but that's actually supposed to rain tomorrow.
Don't tell me that.
Well,
Rain.
but the mid to low 20s, the rest.
We need the ground to, we need the creeks to freeze, huh? Okay, I'm gonna brush my hair. We're gonna wash your hair. I'm just gonna braid mine. I don't feel like washing it. How many pieces do you want? 2?
Sure.
Do you have a jar? Thank you. Appreciate you.
Well, my faucet didn't have, I just went to Lowe's and bought faucet lines. They didn't come with the deal. So I just got whatever I needed. Not a compression fitting, that's not one.
No, I know.
Yeah. I ain't know.
Otters.
Otters would be cool. There's no otters.
There's an otter live right there.
Is there really?
Picnic room. Got a whole winter.
That's freaking cool.
Wow. Personally, my.
We took the snow machines up there. I think this is kind of like beaver pond stuff now. I think that's where the beavers are in it. Remember there was a huge rock out there? I think I got a dozen beaver snare, dozen bobcat snare.
Okay, mister. We gotta clean up. Show off Frankie here. This thing's actually getting solar right now. That's pretty cool. No, it's not very bright out. I like that. over the questions? That's a pretty good stand, huh? All right, let's see. How's that look? Pretty good, I think. Hi.
What do you have to say for yourself, young man?
Mister?
Got a little solar, Nick?
Yeah, that's super awesome.
A couple rogue snowflakes there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Come on.
Heave. Heave. Boss is here.
Uh-oh.
He wants my coffee. Today we are doing a question, answering your questions.
Yeah. Interview.
Interview, if you will.
Interrogation.
Interrogation. Why don't we have a wood splitter? We need a wood splitter. That's probably the #1 question, at least in the last 2 videos.
Last 2 videos.
We truly enjoy splitting the wood.
Yeah, there are some logs that are very difficult to split.
Oh my god.
My parents have a wood splitter, and going forward,
We
can use that wood splitter if we need to.
don't feel we need to right now.
Yeah, and this year's kind of special circumstances. Another question was, why don't we split the wood as we get the wood?
Yep.
And this year was just about, with our trip to Colorado, we had to get as much wood as we could under the woodshed before it started snowing, was our goal. So
Yeah.
that's why we didn't split as we went this year. It's why we didn't mess with the wood splitter. We just wanted to get it cut up, get it under there, and then in the future we can borrow that wood splitter for a weekend and work on getting stuff split or whatever. Won't be a big deal. But
Yeah, firewood situation will be better in future winters this year.
Yep. And we knew that going
knew
into it.
So we do have a wood splitter available to us. What happened with the broken snow machine?
Yep, so that, when we bought it, we kind of knew that we bought it in a package deal with the snow machine trailer. And we kind of knew if the snow machine didn't work out, then we still got the trailer. If the trailer didn't work out, it just kind of was we couldn't lose that bad.
Yes.
We bought it in the summertime, we couldn't test drive it, and then once we started looking into it more as snow was getting here, there was some wear parts worn out inside the primary clutch, and those parts are not available anymore, so we weren't able to rebuild the clutch. We spent a month and a half calling around trying to source the parts or source the salvage clutch, and just weren't able to come up with anything. So we made the decision just to sell it as a parts sled and move on from it. So it's already sold.
Yes, already sold, and part of the decision was, even if we found a clutch, if this part's that hard to find, how hard
What's
is the
the next
next
issue
part
gonna be?
gonna be to find?
And we didn't lose any money on it, even selling it as a parts sled.
No.
We had,
It was like an auction for that freaking
Yeah.
thing. So,
and we had the posting up for an hour or two. We probably had 8 people that just straight up offered to buy it. So
yep, and we were super honest about it. Good luck, have fun. What are your priority projects for the winter? Yeah.
I would say, what do you think, mister?
Says I need a sledding hill.
So, indoor priorities, gonna get some kitchen shelves built, railing upstairs, gonna kind of build a closet up there. That's really kind of our indoor stuff that
For
I
this
can
year.
think of.
Yeah.
And maybe some other shelves as we kind of get
Henry.
settled.
Hey. He's taking you away. We also got asked if we will be videoing the interior cabin projects, and we will. We are actively.
Working on a couple of
Sometimes it takes a couple weeks to get that one video. What about exterior winter priorities?
I think the main thing for the winter is gonna be getting the trees cut to clear our view / where the solar panels are gonna go.
Levi is standing ish back there is we really want to put our solar panels permanently in the future, but all of these trees have to go.
Get that southern exposure, get the most sun that we can. It's probably the main exterior project through the winter. That's gonna double as getting more firewood
Yes,
through those trees.
yes.
Once we start getting into spring, we have a lot of projects that'll be coming up in the spring and summer. Finish the garden fence.
Finish the garden fence. We know it needs a gate. You mean my guy?
I'm thinking.
The only reason the garden fence didn't get finished is because the cabin became priority and we just whipped it up to get the dogs out of the garden.
Yeah, it was done as a temporary thing.
Yes, so
this year we're gonna
it'll give the gate
go back.
and it'll be a moose fence instead of a dog fence. So that's probably a good number 1.
Yep, we're gonna get the porches done on both sides of the cabin. Another question is if that will be a wraparound porch or 2 separate decks or porches. It's gonna be 2 separate, one in the front, one in the back. That's a big thing for the spring. We might do a little bit of work on that through the winter.
Yes.
Just depending on how things go.
Porches,
Chicken coop,
chicken coop,
greenhouse, and some form of a lean-to off the Connex or another shed to park in, keep snow machines and
keep snow blower.
keep that stuff out of the weather. Not
Yeah.
sure what that structure is gonna look like, but
Yeah.
something. Yeah, we'll be busy for the next 10 years.
Yes, we will. All right. And that also kind of answers, yes, we are going to get chickens next year. As far as other livestock goes, we don't have any plans for any bigger livestock. They just take up so much of your time and we really want to explore Alaska more.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to leave.
It's hard to leave
go
when
out
you've
of
got
town.
pigs and you've got goats, and we've kind of played that game, so chickens next year. Are you liking the moose and will you try caribou?
Yes, moose is delicious.
So
It's been
I mean,
really good.
it's hard not to just eat it all at once. You only get your first moose once. We will try caribou. First, we have to try caribou hunting, which is like a whole new, we have no idea what we're doing there. So,
Yeah, looking forward to it though.
yes. A lot of
It's just,
people,
there aren't really caribou in our immediate area.
no, we have to go north for caribou.
We've got to figure out where to go. Just kind of a lot to figure out there. But
It is in the
now that
plans.
our priority has kind of been since we moved here,
Somewhere to live.
having a baby, finding a place to live, building a house at that place to live, so. Speaking of the baby!
He's smiling at me. Oh, he's coming. Slow down. Are any of the horns Becca's? None that you have seen are mine. I do have some deer that will go up. Levi is stone cold hunter man. The bobcat we trapped in Colorado. We did hunt with hounds in Colorado, but that was our biggest bobcat we ever got, so we decided to mount it. That kind of goes hand in hand with, we got a question that I was going to answer later, but are you going to be showing things like decorating and indoor things like that? And yes, through the winter, especially as we have some really cold spells, I'll video all kinds of good stuff inside the cabin for you guys. And my horns will go up on the wall, I promise. What has been your biggest challenge / adjustment in Alaska? Like since moving?
I think the main thing is the struggles of going to town.
I'm trying to get up the gumption to exist.
We try not to go very
100%.
often, but it's a good 3 hours each way. I mean, 6 hours of driving when you go to town.
That's just to get there. That doesn't count bouncing between
Yeah,
stores.
getting there and back, and then had to go a lot with having a baby, and then getting supplies, build the cabin. It's at least 6 hours of driving round trip,
not to mention in and out of whatever various stores.
Yes.
You always have a list that's 10 miles long. No matter how hard you try, you can never get it all. Something that you've been waiting 2-3 weeks to go to town to get, they don't have it, so then you gotta try and find another store that might have it.
Or you can ship it from Amazon, and that'll take 2 to 3 weeks if it doesn't get lost. And God forbid you forget something that you needed that week to build or to
Yeah.
fill in the blank.
But that'll be a lot easier now that we're done building.
Yes. It's not as crazy.
That was very exaggerated with the building process, not accounting for this lumber or that screws or whatever various thing. But that's
One
really
thing-
the only real struggle that I can think of.
Yeah, otherwise we love it. It's
Yeah, living in the woods is great.
how far are you from the nearest grocery store? Kind of goes hand in hand with our struggles.
Yeah. So I would say the nearest grocery store is probably roughly an hour.
And it's an expensive grocery store though. When you
Yes.
hear about Alaska being expensive, it's one of those. If you go to Walmart or Costco, Alaska's pretty comparable with the lower 48. It's these far out stores. So there's one about an hour from us,
Yes.
where Walmart and Costco would be like 3 hours.
It's a good 2.5 hours to Walmart and 3.5 hours to Costco.
Yep. And also, how far is your closest public school? Is about 40-ish minutes, but we plan on homeschooling anyway. And how far is your closest neighbor? And I would say our closest full-time neighbor is probably a mile away. When/why did you move to Alaska?
We moved in May of 2023, and why? You could probably go a long ways down that road.
Yeah, in 4 sentences.
But in general, it's a beautiful place. I think we relish in the challenges of living out here and living this way. And it's kind of how we wanted to live, just kind of off the land, self-sustainable, and that's just very hard to do anywhere we've been in the lower 48.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of lifestyle we want to live is very conducive to Alaska.
Yes. Why do you keep Henry on you / on your back?
Why don't you have that one?
All right. You want to come hang out while we plan? While we game plan? Okay. He says that was the rudest jail time. It's just, when I have Henry on me is usually when I am running around getting 100 outside chores done at a time. And we have 9 acres. It's not like I can just drag a playpen all over the place with him in it. And he's crawling. He's learning to walk pretty well. But our ground is not conducive to a crawling baby to just be free either.
And in the summertime with Devil's Club, you can't put him on the ground.
Right, you can't just really let him be free until he's a little bigger.
Yeah.
But I also am not going to drive the playpen when I need to do something on this acre and that acre and in the connex and the garden. It's just so easy to just throw him in the pack. The big question everybody wants to know. Do you plan to get jobs? Henry, this is the important one. People are here for this one. Do you plan to get jobs, and is YouTube your only income?
So I don't think we plan to get traditional jobs, and that's kind of, as part of it, living as far out as we do. There's not a lot of options for any kind of traditional job.
We're not opposed to getting jobs if the need arises.
Yeah,
But
and we'll do whatever we gotta do. It's just not a lot of options. We do find all of the little odds and ends jobs that we can do to make a few bucks here and there.
Yep.
And we do make some money off of YouTube.
Yes, we do. Absolutely not afraid to say we make an income on YouTube. And
It's not like it's world changing or anything.
it's not world changing, but it pays the bills. How do you affordably get land in Alaska?
To keep it simple,
You can't.
the further out you are, the cheaper it is.
Yeah.
And if you were in town, especially in some of the nicer towns, it is
It's not cheap.
every bit as expensive as, we came from Colorado, which is very expensive, and it's comparable to
Yes.
Colorado housing prices.
Once
If
you're
you
in
get
town.
out in the remote and you got a snow machine in and out in the winter time and
Now we're talking.
all of the things that make it very hard living, yeah, land's cheap. If you're ever buying any land in Alaska, you need to step foot on it before
Yes.
you buy it.
You have to step foot on it. Not in the winter, because you won't know if it's a swamp, or you won't know how soft the ground is in the winter. So Alaska land isn't as cheap as they'd have you say, but the harder life you're willing to live, the cheaper it will get. Where do you live in Alaska? On broad spectrum, we live in the
In the Matsu
Matsu Valley. The Matanuskas that sit in a valley. We
Yep.
don't live near Fairbanks. That's usually the question. Between Anchorage and Fairbanks, we're closer to Anchorage.
You either live in the valley or in the interior, and we live in the valley.
Yep, we're in the valley. Do you see this property as your forever home? Yes and no.
I think we see this property as the foreseeable future. Forever is a really long dang time at our age.
Yes.
And who knows how things will change, how the area will change.
Yes.
But for the foreseeable future, we plan on being here. We would like to get a remote piece of property someday
Mhm.
and, trapping cabin or hunting cabin and spend time there. And if we have 10 more kids,
We might need a bigger house. Are there any items you wish you would have brought up from the lower 48 for sake of resale or because you can't find them in Alaska?
I think the main thing that we had in the lower 48 that I wish we would not have sold down there, we would have brought up with us, was our Kubota tractor. Considering what we paid for it when we bought it, I don't even know, 7 or 8 years ago.
12, yeah.
Versus what that kind of stuff runs now, and I wish we would have kept it, because we could never replace it for anywhere near what we bought it for, so.
Everything, not everything, but big things like that, snow machines, snow blowers are always cheaper down there.
Yep.
But it's kind of in hindsight because it's a really, really long drive and
Yeah. And both times
Can only
we've
haul
done
so
that
much.
drive, we've hauled everything we could, so.
Yep.
You can only do what you can do.
Yeah, if you were gonna do the drive every year, totally, you could just keep hauling stuff up for
Yeah.
cheaper, but it's a really long drive. When did you move from the first cabin?
So
For those of you that didn't watch, last winter, we lived in a really tiny cabin, which was Levi's parents' guest cabin.
Yep. So when we moved up, I stayed there through the winter, last winter, until we could build our cabin. So we moved from there in the middle of May.
Middle of May, as soon as the road was good enough. How long did it take you to build your cabin?
Almost 6 months on the dot. We started the very end of March, and we moved in somewhere around like the 20th of September, so.
Yeah, almost on the dot.
Right at 6 months, and we still have a couple little things
It'll
like
never be done.
kitchen shelves and front porches and a few little things to do, but in general, the cabin is done.
Will you be building an indoor bathroom?
I'll let you have that
No. Next one. We did plan on having kind of a shower corner that we didn't end up having enough space for it as per the original plan. But I know I'm female, but I am totally fine with the outhouse for now. And we're talking about maybe building, it's really common up here to build like a sauna building that can have a shower
one.
in it.
Shower,
And you could
but
do
a bathhouse.
like a bathhouse, yeah, where it's like a sauna, a shower, like just an exterior building. We're talking about something like that in the long run. We could put a bathtub in the corner, kind of by the kitchen sink in the long run. For now, we don't mind sponge baths. We have public showers, and Henry just takes baths in our gigantic sink. It's really common up here to have outhouses and bathhouses.
There are very few people in this area that have a true
real
bathroom.
indoor bathrooms. Do you have a laundry setup? Yes, I have a very small, like RV size washer and spinner. It's not really a dryer, but it spins all the moisture out of the clothes. Settings, super simple on this. There is the wash time, and then I hang dry laundry. I will do a whole video on that later in the winter. Is there a well on the property, or do you have plans for a well?
There is no well, and we have no plans for traditional well. We're gonna try a sand point. We got the stuff for it already. We just never did it this summer with building the cabin, and then the ground froze. But we're gonna try a sand point, and we think it's only 20 to 30 feet to water.
According to local sources.
Yeah.
A sand point, for those of you that don't know, is basically just gonna be an old school hand pump well that you drive down yourself.
It's still not drinkable, potable water,
Yes.
even if you go 200 feet with a old
Yes.
school well.
It's
So,
very heavy in iron in our area, and we don't wanna spend thousands of dollars to not be able to drink it. There is a really good water place in town, and we don't mind hauling it. It's really not a big
and
deal.
rainwater, no,
Rain,
it's no
snow.
big deal.
Which brings us to our next question. Whose squirmy baby is this? How do you use snow for water, cleaning, laundry, drinking? So I do use snow for water. I did a bunch last year and I will do a bunch this year, mainly for laundry and cleaning. We won't really drink it. We've got male dogs, you just never really know what snow is clean and what snow isn't clean. Why didn't you build an enclosed porch or Arctic entry?
Just kind of with the cabin kit or package that we did, that just kind of wasn't part of it. And
We were really
We
focused
just-
on getting moved in and figured those kind of things can come later.
quite frankly, just don't like the look. You know, with the classic log cabin, to have some sort of structure on the exterior, weird little room built off of it, just doesn't look as good. A little bit of vanity there, but.
We didn't build a log cabin for it to be ugly. But
And they are useful.
We're
I mean,
very-
Arctic
yeah.
entry is,
we're aware that it would be very handy and it could happen someday. Will you extend the cabin for Henry / is there a larger house in the plans?
that's one of those things where that's just gonna, you know, the future will decide that. If
Yes.
we need more space, we need to do an addition, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, our plan all along has been with this room on the side of the stairs here. We can, when Henry's ready to have his own room, needs his own room, we'll wall that off into a kid's
Yep, bunk beds, and we'll go from there.
room. Yep,
As kids grow, we'll either, adding on to the cabin it's not in the plans, but it is not absolutely not either. And
and that's another thing that'll come into play with this being our forever home or not. When that,
yep, when that time comes, that'll be the discussion.
maybe we look to go somewhere else, maybe we do an addition,
Right.
we'll just see.
We were in a camper for like 2 years, a cabin, maybe 200 square feet for a whole winter. This is a lot of space for us.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think we're in like the smallest building. We are
This is
rolling
Taj Mahal.
in space right now, and we will deal with someday. Are you going to be able to drive up to the cabin this winter?
We've had a few questions about this. We did it intentionally, built a parking area, a large pad, we can park trailers, turn trucks around down by the Connex. With the plan of everything parked down there, and we can walk the 200 feet to the cabin. Because we built a nice, beautiful cabin in the
woods,
wilderness,
Yeah.
and we just don't wanna park a bunch of cars around it. Got a bunch of groceries or something hauled in, we can back up to the house and unload stuff, but it's not like we're getting out and driving to work every morning. So the distance to where we park the cars is not a big deal.
what is the approximate cabin build price and what was the cabin package cost us?
So the package we got from the sawmill, which is Timberline Sawmill, and I believe since then that their prices have gone up.
Yes.
It was $48,000 for our log package from the sawmill, and that included everything to build the roof, basically the entire framing of the house, with the exception of the floor, subfloor stuff. The entire build altogether was under $100,000.
Yeah, it was. We haven't added up every penny, but it was under 100,000, and that even included things like furniture. So
That included things like our Connex and getting our driveway put in and
brand new mattress. That included everything. We were under 100K. Some questions on the area. Do you have fish in the pond?
Yes, there is pike in the pond. We have not really spent any time fishing it, but we do know there are pike in there.
Yep.
What species of tree do we have?
We have black spruce, white spruce, paper birch is the type of birch trees we have as far as we know, and cottonwoods are going to be our main. Then if you want to go lower, we've got like alders, willows. We don't have aspens. Aspens are further north in Alaska.
I think we have some other kind of birch, but I don't.
I know.
I just know when you look at the birch trees that some of them distinctively look different, but I'm not sure.
I know we have the paper birch. This is good stuff. Is there a lot of marsh in your area?
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of marsh or swamp.
If it looks like a meadow, it's a marsh or swamp.
Yeah.
It's not a meadow. So,
Your feet will get wet if you walk in it.
how long have Levi's parents been in Alaska?
So they moved up at the same time we did, in May of 23. And yep, it was all one big road trip.
One big move. They already had a cabin up here that they moved to, and yeah, then the rest is history. We lived at their place, bought our place, built our place. So, group effort there. Were you nervous about moving? You were not.
We were talking about this, going over
Going
these questions before we started. I was not nervous about moving here. I was nervous that Becca wouldn't want to stay here.
Listen, for the record, I was the one that was like, let's move to Alaska. But I was also the one that hadn't been to Alaska yet, because that makes sense, right? What's wrong? It's empty, baby. It's empty. Can't give you no more. See, it's all gone. I was the one that said we should move to Alaska, although I had never been here. So then my first trip to Alaska, I had a little bit of a meltdown. Like, do I want to live here? I made a lot of promises, but turns out I love it. And honestly, you'd be pretty stretched pretty thin to get me to leave.
Yeah.
So, love it. How did your family feel about you moving? Well, some of yours came with us.
Yep.
I would say overall, they are bummed to see us go, but they knew Alaska was... Okay. I would say overall, they were bummed to see us leave, but they knew Alaska was so us, that they're all happy for us. So a lot of people are visiting and excited to visit.
Yeah,
And
I've had a ton of people come up to see us, which is...
no one's that mad.
Now they have an excuse.
Yeah.
Do you have family nearby,
See.
other than in-laws?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. No, they're the ones visiting and that are happy for us. But no, I have in-laws, I have Henry, and I have you. And some pretty cool neighbors. What are your plans for Thanksgiving? We are having some people over. I'm hosting in my brand new cabin. And just so you know, we're going to take Thanksgiving week off from videoing.
I think it's going to be our first week without a video
in like a long
a
time.
year and a half.
So I will post a reminder about that, but we're gonna just family time it Thanksgiving week. So love you guys, but we're excited for some dedicated time off.
Yep.
How many siblings does Levi have?
I have a brother and a sister,
And I also have a brother and a sister.
and they live in Colorado.
Yep. What did you guys do in Colorado?
So I worked at a mine for 9-ish years.
9 years.
Since high school, till we moved.
Oh, me? I did a myriad of office bookkeeping jobs for a while, and when we started having fertility struggles, I came home and was a homemaker housewife until I was like, let's move.
So Bolt, what do you think of Alaska?
How old is Henry? And how old are you guys? Henry is almost 1. I'm 28.
And I'm older than dirt.
Levi's 30.
That's bad.
Did Henry qualify for the permanent fund when he was born? The permanent fund, for those of you that don't know, is when people say Alaska pays you to live there, you basically get money back every year from like oil profits from the state. It's a whole thing. It's called the permanent fund dividend.
It's extremely complicated.
It's really complicated. You don't get it until you've been a resident from January to December of a year. You'll get it the next, like September.
Yeah.
So next year we will all qualify.
Henry technically qualified as soon as he was born, but because we weren't residents yet, we couldn't
get it for him.
We didn't qualify.
So
So
then
it's-
he didn't qualify. Even though he's a born Alaskan, we were non-residents then. So next year we will all get the permanent fund, which is a very nice little, kind of a tax break, I guess is a good way to put it. It's
Yeah.
not a tax break, but it's along those lines to make it make sense.
Is that good apple juice?
Do you plan to have more kids? Yes.
Whole bushels.
How did you and Levi meet? We've been together since we were 15 and 16, so
So a fat minute.
a minute. We met through a mutual hunting friend
Yeah.
in
I
high
know us.
school. We were long distance in high school, and then I moved up to the mountains, and so
Been
that-
history since.
yeah, it's like 14 years ago now. So, yeah, been a long time. What's the music in your videos? So the main one that everyone asks is "Leaning on Everlasting" by Zachariah Hickman, the one with the fiddle. And then I've got a few other sounds I use. They're all on YouTube music, but that's the main one. Is that
Yeah.
"Leaning on Everlasting" is the one that we use almost every time.
It's hard to find.
I think it's on Spotify too, but
There's not a lot of stuff that's not copyrighted.
yeah,
They're
most
very
stuff
select.
copyrights the whole thing, and then some people want you to pay like $500 to use their music and whatnot. Do you have an Amazon wish list or PO box? Yes.
Yep. So we have both of those should be linked in every video.
Yep, linked in our descriptions. We've gotten some pretty amazing handmade gifts from people, and we have an Amazon wish list that has some stuff for us, stuff for Henry. Yeah, if you feel like sending stuff,
We're always
you rock.
amazed by people's generosity.
It's insane. So thank
All
you.
we ask is that you like and subscribe.
That's all we ask. And we rarely even ask that.
Yeah, we're not very good at that.
Thank you so much for watching. No video Thanksgiving week. No video that week. Taking the week off for ourselves. And stay tuned for the winter fun. Once the snow stacks up high enough, we'll be snow machining and trapping. And
When are we putting the shop live?
I don't know. Well, the products need to get here because we're in Alaska. We are opening up a store/online shop that's going to have logo apparel on it,
Yeah.
which we're excited about. But we're
And then-
waiting for our samples.
For us, that kind of ties into viewers' generosity, people that send us gifts, and it's a way that you can support us and get something out of it for yourself.
Yep.
And like we said, by all means, all we ask is that you watch, like, and subscribe.
Yep, but keep your eyes peeled for the shop link. I will add the shop link and you can put your email in for a announcement when we do open it, but we're waiting on some samples because I don't want to sell things to you guys that I don't know are decent quality first. So Alaska shipping. Once those come in, we'll share the shop once and for all, and in the long run I want to have handmade items on it, like our furs from trapping. So it won't always be only apparel, but for now it'll be apparel, and someday maybe really cool stuff like a lynx hat or beaver mittens or stuff like that. So stay tuned, because that's kind of our end goal is the shop. So
you're gonna go over the backside, huh? Going over the backside, huh? This is getting out of hand. I think we're gonna have to cut it.
I think we're all pretty tired. I've got a lot of editing to do.
Yeah.
Cut.
Cut.